No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all of those joining us live on Valentine's Day, good evening to you and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Happy Valentine's Day, Dave M, and everybody watching live on YouTube.
There you go. Big Daddy is Ginsburg is giving up the Valentine's love. He's always full of love, but especially on February 14th, he's got lots of love in his heart. And the Jets would have lots of love in their heart if they weren't getting goalied or almost goalied in all of these games. As it was a relatively tight affair. They didn't get probably the best start they would have liked with San Jose, a team that's been off their last game coming January 31st. So they've been off for 2 weeks. That's a little bit unusual. They're also, a bottom cellar dweller, if you will, least amount of goals for in the NHL, most goals against in the NHL. But you couldn't tell tonight because Kaapo Kähkönen looked like Dominic Hasek for much of the evening. The Jets were unable to solve him other than the Morgan Barron goal. So today's Betway game recap is not going to be a long one, Ezzy, because we only have the one goal to discuss. We're going to bring you the comments from head coach Rick Bowness when he's available. But again, what are your quick thoughts with the Jets string back-to-back wins together, picking up an important 2 points?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, Dave. What was it? 40 saves for Kaapo Kähkönen. Like, what stood out to me was, and I mentioned this to you as we were watching the game here, like, I'm not sure why the Sharks didn't pull him earlier. Maybe it was because he was so tired that he couldn't even make the way, make his way to the bench, right? But yeah, he was really good tonight. And, it definitely wasn't a lack of scoring chances that was the reason why the Jets only scored one goal. But that's just what the Jets and Sharks do, right? Like, they play low-scoring games, right? Mm-hmm. The first two were 2-1 in San Jose, California, and then obviously 1-0 tonight. But yeah, definitely rusty. But the first 6 or 7 minutes, Dave, in the first period, it was the Sharks that had actually the better legs and the more scoring chances. It wasn't until I think the 6 or 7 minute mark where the Jets registered a shot on net, right? And then they obviously took over for the remainder of the first period and really the remainder of the game, right? So yeah, I think you like the fact that the Jets generated scoring chances on the penalty kill. Unfortunately, they didn't generate a lot on the man advantage, but I think Kaapo Kähkönen, I believe, is in the last year of his contract. And if I'm the San Jose Sharks, like, I'm signing him. I think I'm rewarding him for how well he's played. And I realize, Dave, that Mackenzie Blackwood, former New Jersey Devil, he's in the picture as well. But Kaapo Kähkönen's been really solid this year for the Sharks, and it was mentioned on the broadcast by Harna Ryan Singh, who did an excellent job tonight alongside John Garrett. The Sharks actually had 5 points in 5 of 6 games heading into the All-Star player break. So, I mean, I was impressed by the way the Sharks played. When you consider no Tomas Hertl, no Logan Couture, I think the fact that they kept this game close, for them is a victory, right? Like, I don't know about you or Dave or anybody else in the chat here, but I thought this was going to be like a 6-1, 7-1 game, right? And, we also have to talk about Connor Hellebuck. Like, let's not, diminish the shutout here. It wasn't his busiest night, but, he had to be solid, right? Like, I think back to the second period, Fabian Zetterlund had those 2 good scoring chances kind of, at the 9 minute mark of the second period. Then he made a save on Sturm. Sturm also had a decent chance early on in the third period. So
Sturm, by the way, no longer knows his name after the Logan Stanley hit.
Right. And it's not Marco Sturm, who also played for the Sharks. It's
exactly.
Nico Sturm, right? So, I mean, look at Alexander Barabanov. He's a talented player. You've still got, veteran guys like Mikhail Granlund and Anthony Duclair, who I thought played well. We've got Rick Bowness, Dave. I'm not sure if
we're going to bring Rick Bowness up right now. Well, here comes the head coach, Rick Bowness.
Wanted a little bit more scoring. How did you rate your scoring chances and your goals?
Well, we had 84 shot attempts. We had certainly more than enough scoring chances to score more than one goal. It's not going in their goal to give their goalie a ton of credit. He made huge saves. We were all over the net. I'm just going to keep pushing. If we can create that much offense, the puck will have to go in soon.
You guys had breakaways. There's a lot around the slot. There's a whole bunch, and then the goal you get is a double deflection that goes in off of Barron. What do you make of that?
That's hockey. Just keep throwing pucks at the net and hope for the best. That's, we lost the game in Philadelphia. That's all they did. They threw two pucks to the net and hit about 3 different things and went in twice. Tonight we got one of those.
Connor Hellebuyck gets the shutout. What can you say about him after that performance?
Yeah, no, he didn't get a lot of work, but he had some timely saves. There were some early in the third there. They had a couple of really good chances, so he stopped. In the second period, their chances weren't very many, but they came in like little bunches there in a hurry, and he made the big save. So, he did his job.
One of the biggest saves of the night came from Mark Scheifele. What did you see with his sliding stop?
Well, he was back checking hard, and he ended up, he knew where to go. He kept the puck out of the net, so that was good. Good for him. He's worked hard at both ends of the ice.
And then in the third period, kind of protecting that 1-goal lead, Ehlers and Iafallo switched spots. What was the reasoning behind that?
I just didn't like what I was seeing from that top line, so.
Was it about what they were? I was trying to look for the thing. If there would have been a reason, maybe there was like an ozone giveaway kind of in the third there. But what leads to that kind of change?
It wasn't the third. It was what led up to the third.
In the top 6, Monahan, Perfetti, and Velarde, your second line. What did you see from them tonight? It looked
Yeah,
like
they had some really good looks low, and I think Gabe hit the knob of his stick, and they created more offense tonight than they have in the other games.
Does it feel like just a matter of time before Monahan gets his first point as a Jet? Velarde breaks his slump. Perfetti.
He won a lot of big face-offs for us tonight. He's doing his job. It'll come. Thanks.
Thank you. So we got nothing tomorrow.
That might be the quickest post-game show conversation with head coach Rick Bowness, but we bring you that here on the Legal Curve post-game show as courtesy of our photog turned videographer Colby Spence. So thank you, Colby, for being in the Matt Frost Media Center and bringing you that live. Of course, that is on our YouTube channel if you want to hear it again. Rick Bowness probably a little bit sick of talking to everyone. He spent 14 minutes with us yesterday, another 5 or 6 today, and then of course those minutes. So it's interesting. He made some line changes. He obviously, despite the fact that they generated a ton, Ezzy, like he said, 84 shot attempts. And that was kind of the story of the game early, was that the Jets were being outshot, and you were touching on it just before we went to Rick Bowness, but the Jets were outshooting them being outshot 4-0. And yet, Alex is high, but yet the fact is that the Jets still had some chances. That Mark Scheifele to Kyle Connor in front of the net, which he shot wide. So there were a lot of chances. They just weren't hitting the net until, of course, I think it was about the 6-minute mark of the first period.
Right. And, this was a line, speaking specifically about the Scheifele Connor Ehlers line, we were expecting a little more, dynamicism, if I can say the word properly, out of that line. And, I don't know if you necessarily saw it tonight. Like, I think shot attempts, Dave, tell you, one story, but, for a team that's struggling to score goals and you're going up against the big bad Vancouver Canucks late Saturday night,
right.
I think it's still a concern here. And, we'll get into the 1 goal in the Betway game recap. As you mentioned, it's going to be a short Betway game recap. But, another thing I wanted to talk about too was the almost goal by Anthony Duclair. I mentioned this to you as well. If Duclair is available, is he not a guy, that would be interesting in a Winnipeg Jets jersey? Like, I'm not sure, if, that means that Morgan Barron, is the odd man out, or if Alex Iafallo is the odd man out, right? But we know that the Jets are done acquiring centers, right? I don't think anybody's expecting Chevy to acquire center because, of course, you've got guys like Rasmus Kupari and David Gustafson who are options, right? Yeah. Dominic Toninato cleared waivers. He's with the Moose. I'm not stealing your Manuk Moose minute here, Dave, but I think most people expect, if the Jets do make a move, it'll be for a winger and maybe a defenseman or two. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a couple defensemen, by the way. Mm-hmm. Because, like I've said this before, and I feel like I'm really the only person necessarily saying this, but you lost Declan Chisholm, right? So that's an NHL body. I realize he doesn't have a lot of NHL experience. That's why I'm saying, I could see if, let's put out Chris Tanev, for example, or Ilya Labushkin or whoever else, Noah Hannafin. Like, I'm just saying, I wouldn't, put it past Chevy to acquire more than one defenseman. And obviously there could be injuries between now and then. And you've also got Ville Heinola as an option. I'm just saying, I thought Anthony Duclair, looked good tonight. And he's that kind of guy that, it seems like teams always are, inquiring about, right? A guy that like has a history of scoring goals. Obviously, Duclair would not be a top 6 forward for the Jets, but I thought that was, very close to say the least. And I don't know about, the chat. We'll hear it from the chat here, but it seemed like that was a little closer than it looked originally, right? Obviously, Connor Hellebuck had no idea where the puck was. He was spun around after Mikael Granlund had the initial shot, Dave.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting once they showed the replay. We had the comment up a couple minutes ago. Scheifele really did, prevent that from being a tie game. And, that's all it takes. Rick Bowness mentioned it, right? He said that's hockey. And yes, if the Jets continue to generate that many shots against the Canucks, they should be fine. But for a Sharks team who's one of the worst teams in the league, without Tomas Hertl and without Logan Couture, I don't know how happy you can be with a 1-0 victory.
Yeah, and you have to credit the goaltender. I mean, he made, I think the high danger chances were 24/7 in favor of the Jets. So the Jets certainly had chances, and there were a number of instances, Ezzy, where guys were standing there, or I should say, hunched over at the end of opportunities. Mark Scheifele, I can think of in the second period. Nino Niederreiter. There were a couple of times where he was, he had that one sequence where he had 3 shots in a row, where
he had the toe drag in the second period. Kakkonen made a good chance, and then it was Nate Schmidt who fed Niederreiter in the middle for the redirect, right? Dave and Kakkonen made the save.
Yep.
So I thought Niederreiter was one of the best forwards for the Jets. And obviously, now he's got that monkey off his back. And so he does, he's not in a 15-game goal scoring slump anymore. So you could tell, I think, that, he's playing with more confidence. At least that's what I saw.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. And I thought Adam Lowry played, the Jets played a good game. Morgan Barron, I don't want to ruin all of our good material, because Morgan Barron is the only, I think folks will know who has the Seagram's shot of the game as. I think that part is going to be pretty obvious. Although we sometimes don't have to give it for goals. We could always give it for someone punches someone. I mean, it could be the Seagram's hit of the game. But anyways, that's
and Ryan's, got the comment up there for those listening on the pod. He's talking about Adam Lowry. The comment is best player tonight was our captain. And, that line was really good. And they were good against Pittsburgh on Saturday, right? And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, we know that, these lines are not set in stone, right? Like Rick Bowness has the option to go back to Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers, Gabe Vilardi. Sean Monahan, I thought, was pretty good tonight.
Yep.
But again, it's just, shot attempts are great. Look, I mean, the expected goals what were the expected goals? 4 for the Jets, -2 for the Sharks, right? Like, I mean, like, I'm not saying that the Jets weren't the better team tonight. All I'm saying is, goals are what matter the most, right? So they're not finishing like they were, in the first 35 to 45 games of the season, right? So again, I'm not concerned long-term, but you just played the Sharks, and you're going to play the Canucks coming up, and then you're going to face a Flames team that is right in the thick of the playoff race. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see, what the Flames do. We mentioned Chris Tanev and Noah Hannafin earlier. You hear, courtesy of our friend Frank Zaravalli, that the Devils were close to acquiring Jacob Markstrom, right? So if you take Jacob Markstrom off that roster, Dave, obviously it means you follow the AHL a lot more than I do. I guess it's Dustin Wolf time in Calgary, right?
Yeah, well, he's been the AHL goalie of the year the last 2 years, so I'm suspect that they're ready for him to assume that mantle. But look, if you're Calgary, I don't want Spency to accuse me of this being Flames lunch, Ezzy, but if you're the Flames, it's they're kind of very similar to kind of the Jets situation, right? You got guys who are going to be UFA's event soon. You've got to figure that sort of situation out. Do you blow it up and try and retool, like folks suggested?
Is there enough left to blow up? That's what I would say, right? Like, I mean, they're not trading Mikael Backlund. He's their captain. You hear a guy like Andrew Mangiapane might be traded, but like, I don't think there's much more to blow up, right? Like, it's really Markstrom, Tanev, and Hannafin, Dave. Like, and they're in a playoff race. So that's why I'm saying Calgary is a fascinating team, and similar to Pittsburgh. By the way, I don't know if you saw Pittsburgh lost tonight. I think it's time to just say that Pittsburgh's done. I mean, they're not making the playoffs.
Well, Spency, by the way, likes a flame broiled lunch, so perhaps he won't mind our Flames lunch segue as. But yeah, I mean,
chicken fries. Isn't BK the one who has chicken fries? I'll text Spency
after. Maybe
we'll go for a little late night fast food run.
Yeah, Jay Miller says 2 points in a grinder, good dub. But look, The games are going to be tighter. I don't care if a team is a bad team. It doesn't mean that every team is you're going to destroy them 8-0. And then look, right now the Jets are not scoring goals. I mean, that's just the way things have been going for Winnipeg. So they played again, more importantly, you continue to play a strong game. I will say the power play though, it's at the point where it needs to be declined. I don't think they had a shot on their second power play, Ezzy. They can't generate anything. The power play units just seem stagnant. The power play, and again, I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of expert that I can figure out what's ailing their power play. But
we
whatever,
had JP Vigier on Saturday, and he is an expert, right? He's a
That's
Hockey
true.
Canada skills coach.
There
He's
you
a
go.
former NHLer. He knows a lot better than us who just played community center hockey. I mean, you did score 5 goals in a game in Maccabi hockey, so I got to give you a shout out. And I was a first round pick for Denali. Shout out to Aubrey Margolis. But yeah, I mean, look, JP said it. I mean, whatever your scheme is, whatever your strategy is, there has to be a purpose behind it, and it can't just be one shot and done. But the thing with the Jets is it almost is confident zapping before the power play even starts, right? And I think it was telling that the Jets had more scoring chances when they were shorthanded versus on the power play, right? So at this point, it's mind-boggling, really. I have no other word to use or words to use. I guess it's hyphenated, right? Or it's one word, but we'll ask maybe Merriam-Webster's dictionary to let us know if mind-boggling is one word. But yeah, I mean, luckily the Jets have been one of the better 5-on-5 teams in the league this year. But their power play I mean, they're healthy. The Jets are healthy, completely healthy now. So there's no more excuses. You can't say, well, we don't have the big Kyle Connor shot out there, or Gabe Velarde's injured right now, or Nikolai Ehlers is injured. The Jets are completely healthy, literally completely healthy. Gus Bus is back too, so they don't have one single injured player.
In fact, as well, that's a nice segue for this point. This is the first game I think that they didn't have a guy on IR. So there's nobody on IR. Again, we know, and in fact, last game, if you recall, Rasmus Kupari came out and Rick Bowness said that there was someone who was nicked up. So it was a game time, not a game time, but he was there in case they needed to have a late scratch. He didn't even come out for the skate today. So the fact is that Rasmus Kupari wasn't needed. This is a healthy team. So yeah, you're right. There's no excusing it, really. The team has to, again, your 5-on-5 play has been good. And you credit Kakinen because I look, the Jets did what they needed to do to create havoc in front of him. They did. Guys were in front of the net. There were opportunities. They took away his eyes. They had redirections. I mean, you can't, I love how everybody just thinks you could just they should kill San Jose because San Jose sucks. And as you said before, San Jose was playing better before the break. But not only that, again, you credit the goaltender. I mean, we saw it, right? There were a lot of good chances. He made some good saves. So you can't minimize that just because you think the Jets should roll over the Sharks. It's just not the way it works.
The Jets had 24 high danger chances at even strength to 7. I honestly can't remember the last time the Jets had that many high danger chances.
Right.
And we mentioned Nino Niederreiter himself could have had 2 goals in the second period. He had 2 high danger chances, right? 3 actually. So yeah, I mean, it's getting to a point where, and you go back to the game against Toronto, right? The first game that was in Toronto.
Yeah.
And the Jets lost that game, obviously. And they badly outplayed the Leafs. And then obviously the Leafs got their revenge when the series, I'm calling it a series, but the second game came back to the 2-game set came back to Winnipeg, right? So, but this goes back, over a month now. This goes back to, I would say the road trip where they had trouble with San Jose and they had trouble with Anaheim, right? I think one of those games was 2-1. I think they beat Anaheim 2 or 3-1, and they beat San Jose. Well, no, it was 2-1 against San Jose, and then I believe it was 3-1 against Anaheim with an empty netter, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, I mean, this is, going on, 12 to 14 games here that the Jets are having trouble scoring goals. And the reason why, and we had the comment earlier up, I mean, the reason why it's so concerning about the power play is because the power play has struggled essentially all year long.
Right.
The Jets have not really had more than maybe a 3, 4, 5 game stretch where the power play has looked excellent, right?
Mhm.
And so
Ezzy, they haven't
I'm-
scored. They're just to add to that. They're 0 for 21, I think it is, or 20 in just their last 8 games.
Right. And John Elliott has the comment up there for those listening on the pod, right? Jets were more dangerous on their PK than they were on their power play. You know, we mentioned that a few minutes ago. And that's not the first time. And, you know, with guys like Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton, Alex IFL, like they have guys that in transition, like they can block a shot, head the puck up the ice. Like this is nothing new. But, you know, it's when the power play is struggling this bad, Dave,
Yeah.
you know that it's more than just personnel, right?
Right.
It is something that goes beyond just the guys that you put out on the ice with the man advantage, right?
Mhm.
And you know, it's something that it's going to prevent the Jets from. I'm not saying that it's going to prevent the Jets from winning the Stanley Cup,
Yep.
but right now it's really what's separating the Jets from instead of just being a great team. If they had at the very least an above average power play, they would be a top 2, top 5 team in the league. Some people think the Jets are already a top 5 team in the league,
Right.
but I'm not confident in saying they are with this power play. It's got to the point where, like we said, like, you know, we're 50 plus games into the season here,
Right.
and you're completely healthy. And against a team like the Sharks, and again, I mentioned this, you know, in the first 5 minutes, I give David Quinn, the head coach of the Sharks, a lot of credit. Like I think he's done a good job, you know, having this team competitive on a nightly basis. We talked about it. The Sharks had points in 5 of 6 games heading into the All-Star break. Look, the Sharks are one of the worst teams in the league. I'm admitting that, but I'm just
saying that.
No, they're a hard-working group. I mean,
Yeah.
you just look at, you know, we talked about Zetterlund was impressive. You know, they're obviously not going anywhere this year. They're going to get another high draft pick. Not sure if that means that they're going to get Celebrini, but you know, they're most likely going to get a top 5 pick, right, Dave?
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to score a power play goal against the Sharks when your power play has been so putrid for so long, right? So yes, I agree that you got a lot of scoring chances and a lot of shot attempts at even strength, but game after game, the power play just looks lethargic and just kind of clueless out there.
Well, and you know what, Ezzy, you made a, as you were speaking, something I was thinking about was the fact is this is 51 games in, right? This was the 51st game of the season. So the Jets are a upper echelon team. There's no question about that. You can look at their record.
They're a top 10 team, no doubt, but that's what I'm saying, Dave. Like there's a difference between being a good team or a very good team and one of the best teams. Like I still have, for me, like I still have Vegas up there. I still have Dallas up there and Vancouver. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Vancouver. Now they've added Elias Lindholm, and most
about Phil the
importantly,
Thrill.
I was going to say now that they've added, well, I guess they haven't officially added Phil Kessel.
Yeah.
But you know, that's Rick Tockett's old buddy from the days of the Penguins, right? So I mean, you have to put the Canucks up there, and in the East, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you have to respect the Boston Bruins, and you have to respect the Florida Panthers, and the Rangers are pretty good. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to say. I mean, maybe, you know, 25, 30 games into the season when the Jets were maybe 30 to 35 games into the season when they were on that run,
right?
You could say that the Jets were a bona fide top 5 team, I guess. But that's why you play the whole season. There's a lot of season left. Yes, we're 51 games into the season. But, you know, the Jets want to avoid, if they can, playing Colorado in the first round, right? And that's a possibility right now. That's what they're looking at. I don't want to play Colorado in the first round if I'm the Jets.
No, absolutely not. But I guess getting back to the whole idea of the power play and discussing the power play, to me, and you know, I like this comment by Maestro. Sorry, people don't like it when the Jets don't steamroll bottom feeders. Not very rational thinking. Other teams get paid too. And again, like I said, the Jets dominated the 5-on-5 play. I don't think there's any question about that. It was really just the goaltender was excellent. And they look, are these guys snake bit? Yeah, there's definitely guys who are currently not performing to the levels that they need to be performing at. Gabriel Velarde said as much in his media availability with us 2 days ago when he jokingly said to Kelly Moore, "Oh, you thought I played well? Thank you." But he didn't particularly think he had played a very good game, and you could hear it in his voice. And obviously Sean Monahan's through 3 or 4 games with the Jets. Cole Perfetti hasn't scored in a long time. Alex Iafallo hasn't scored in a long time. You got a lot of guys who are just not feeling it. And the games are going to get harder. They are getting harder. You can sense it. There's the opportunities are not as for those big broken plays, Ezzy, are not happening as much. Now, look, San Jose is not the New York Rangers or the Florida Panthers or the Edmonton Oilers or the Vancouver Canucks. They're not an upper echelon team. But again, I don't think the Jets. I thought the Jets control. Look, the Jets didn't give them a shot for almost a full period, right after they had the 4-0 lead in I think it was like in the first 3 minutes of the first. They didn't allow a shot for the next 17 minutes of that period. Didn't allow a shot. And I'm not even joking. I'm pretty sure the 5th shot that San Jose got was like 200 feet. Like it wasn't like particularly dangerous. So the Jets limited them. They just can't score right now. And again, that's going to come down to the coaching. And you also have to wonder at what point, and was one thing I asked actually Cole Perfetti, I think that was this morning, Ezzy, I almost forgot, blacked out. But like one of the things I talked about with Cole Perfetti today was asking him about that opportunity to develop that chemistry with Sean Monahan and Gabriel Velarde. And he said there's such a huge benefit to having all of these games as opposed to trading for him. And we've already talked about this, but just hearing Perfetti's sort of thoughts on it and that and the reality is they haven't had a ton of runway. So they've had a lot of practice time, which is important. Obviously they're going to go to Vancouver. Tomorrow's a travel day. Then they'll be in Vancouver. They'll practice on Friday and we'll see, as they start to get it. But look, the fact of the matter is, I'm just getting back, and then we'll get into the Betway game recap but just quickly, the final thought is they've got to do something about this power play, but it's hard to see how they're going to make a change at this point. And one thing I think when Rick Bowness gets back, if it continues to struggle when they go against the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday and then the Calgary Flames on Monday, is are you satisfied with the way this power play is configured? Do you like the structure and do you just feel like the personnel are not executing it sufficiently, or does it need to change? Because right now you're 51 games in and you are what do we always say, Ezzy? You are what your record says you are. And at this point, your record says you're a really bad power play team.
Exactly. And despite that, you're the second best team in the Central, right? So that just shows you how good the Jets could be if they had just an above average power play, right? Like 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th in the league, as opposed to whatever they're at now, 24th, 25th. I have no idea, 26th, maybe even.
I think it's 26th or 27th, to be honest.
So that's what we're talking about here. And going back to what you were saying before, I agree with you, Dave. I mean, the Sharks, like the example I was using, it is the highest level of hockey I played was A1 for the Varsity View Falcons. And it's like an A1 player, playing against AAA players, right? Like that's what this was, the Jets versus Sharks. Like we mentioned, you've got some decent veteran players on the Sharks, but I mean, it looked pretty easy for the Jets at certain points. And, just specifically talking about the Monahan line with Perfetti and Velarde. Yeah, I agree, Dave. I think it's too early. It's only been a few games here. I think I need to see another, 4 or 5 games, of this line, if this is what we see. Right. And, Murat asked the question, about the top line, like, Kyle Connor to me is still not right. And I realize that a knee injury is a big deal. And, I'm not knocking Kyle Connor because in my opinion, he's a top 10, maybe even top 5 goal scorer in the NHL. Right. But it's just, he's not as quick. He's just not creating as much time for himself. And again, I don't want to take away the severity of that knee injury because I think even though, he came back a little earlier than we thought, it's been 8 games now that he's been back, something like that, 8 or 9 games.
Yeah, something like that.
And, he's got a couple goals. One was an empty netter, but it's just, there's something just, he's not quite at peak Kyle Connor, and he's got a lot of time. We talked about it, Dave. There's 31 games left in the season. Yep. So it's not like we're at game 79 or 80 here, but I'm just saying, like, Nick Ehlers and Mark Scheifele are clearly, a step above Kyle Connor, in my opinion, on that line. Scheifele was excellent tonight. Ehlers was fine. Ehlers wasn't, that wasn't one of Ehlers', best games. But again, I mean, you also have to kind of contextualize tonight's game. The Jets were off for 3 days, lots of
Yep.
practice. And that's the thing too, Dave, that bothers me about the power play is that you had, and you were at practice. I wasn't at practice, but I know that they practiced the power play.
Yep.
And still you weren't able. And the thing is, it's not just scoring a goal on the power play. And I'll end my rant here, but it's you want to see some progress, right? Like you mentioned, what are the Jets? 0 for 20 in the last 20 or 21? Like you just want to see some signs that they're turning this thing around.
Right.
And you don't really see that. And granted, I said this on Saturday that, the Jets, I thought, why not score a couple power play goals against the Penguins? The Penguins are a good defensive team. But they were in the second game of a back-to-back, right? And I honestly thought the Jets were going to score 4 or 5 goals tonight. I was like, okay, and yes, Kaapo Kähkönen was excellent. He made 40 saves, first star of the game, not taking anything away from Kaapo Kähkönen. But the power play it's a momentum zapper.
Yeah.
And it's got to change. And hopefully they get it going against Vancouver. But that Canucks team is very good. So, I don't know. I just don't know anymore. It just continues to just kind of fizzle out.
Which is why it'll be hilarious when the Jets put up like 4 goals against the Canucks and win like 4-1. But we'll see. We'll save that for the very late Illegal Curve post-game show coming to you Saturday night. What is that? Is that a 9:00 start? So I think
I believe, 9:00.
So we'll be starting that one around 11:40 p.m. I think is that all 3 of us, or is that 2 of us, or 1 of us? Who knows what it'll be? But that's a discussion for another day. Of course, we also have the Illegal Curve hockey show coming to you that morning, and there's of course a Moose game that afternoon. They'll is that Superhero Day, or is that, I think Superhero Day might be on it's the Chaz Lucius bobblehead. So I might have some tickets for that. If folks want to go, you might want to send me an email, but we'll get into that at the Manuka Moose Minute. Moose currently losing 1-0 in Calgary. They're finishing their 9th game in a row on the road. But Ezzy, this is the Betway game recap, and we're here to talk about the Winnipeg Jets. So let's get into that thing called the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap brought to you by Ezzy. No surprise, our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is a sports betting app that puts you, Ezzy, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options and sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play as, and please play responsibly.
And that does it for the Betway game recap.
Good one, Ez. That is true. Basically, it is basically over because there's not a lot to talk about in the first period. Well, I mean, look, let's be realistic, Ezzy. There are some things we're going to talk about. We'll talk more about the power play. We'll talk about the proposal that happened in the second period.
I didn't see that.
I know. Well, check out IC Dave's Twitter. That's me, of course. But
does the woman ever say no?
Well, usually when it's staged, I think they say no to kind of create a controversy. And to be honest, I didn't really see that she said yes. He kind of stuffed the ring on her finger.
So we don't know yet.
Well, it wasn't very clear.
So the camera pans away, and then she's actually taking the ring off.
She kind of threw it into the crowd.
Stairs.
Yeah, it was interesting. But
this is my take on that. Since there weren't that many goals, we might as well break down that engagement proposal.
Sure, absolutely.
If you're going to propose in front of how many people were in attendance tonight, however, 10,000 plus, 12,000 plus.
I think someone said it's funny. I was told that it was going to be over 14, but then someone said it was like 13,700. But regardless,
so if you're going to propose in front of 13,751 people,
yep,
you obviously know she's going to say yes, right? Like you're not getting that ring out and praying that she says yes, right? But according to you, it wasn't conclusive. So
yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't. I mean, he kind of stuffed it on her hand, and then they kind of walked. The camera kind of panned away. It was kind of an awkward situation. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. You get whatever you get with an arena proposal. We wish them all the best. And that's your Betway game recap. Thanks for joining us. This has been let's get into it. So the Jets didn't have a great start, which was interesting because San Jose, as we touched on, hadn't played for 2 weeks. So you were curious. And that was one of the things that Rick Bowness it was funny because Rick Bowness was asked about it in the morning. Media availability, of course, that media availability and every media availability at home available on our YouTube channel. So please ensure the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. So please ensure you are subscribing. And Rick Bowness was talking about he was asked today, I think by Kelly Moore of CJOB, what he thought about the games against the Sharks. And he essentially said, because if you recall, the 2 games they played previously in San Jose were 2-1 games, both of them. And Rick Bowness essentially said, we had lots of chances. We didn't take we didn't take advantage of those opportunities. And so, jokingly, I said to some of our fellow members of the media, well, perhaps they're taking him to heart and they just don't want to waste all those chances. So they're not going to take any shots and they're not going to try and get any. But the Sharks got off to a good start, had some good opportunities to start that game, 4-0 shots in the first 3:28. Like I said, Kyle Connor right in front. And that I think is to the point you made, Ezzy, about Kyle Connor not seeming like he's got it back to where you expected him to be. And let's be realistic. Like, I'm not saying he came back early, but ultimately, let's remember what Rick Bowness's words were he didn't say this at December 10th or December 11th, right after that Anaheim game when Strome went knee on knee, and we knew that Kyle Connor was going to be out a while. But, it was a 6 to 8 week situation, and he came back after 5. So it's possible that he's just, again, I don't think he's incapable of playing, but is he 100% there? Not necessarily. So Kyle Connor misses a glorious chance. And then the Jets start to push back, and then they take advantage of, they take the lead in terms of shots. It was like 6-4, 7-4, 8-4. They had a power play, or they had a power play opportunity because Mikael Granlund took a hooking penalty against Nikolai Ehlers. Nikolai Ehlers drew 2 penalties, almost drew a third. So he was good in that regard, regardless of what Rick Bowness thought, but he was drawing power plays. Maybe he didn't want them. Maybe that was why he was mad. But look, they had that power play opportunity in the first period, no dice on it. And I think they didn't even have a shot on the second one in the second period. But in the first period, Morgan Barron sets a new career high for goals in his 51st game of the season.
You stuck on 8 for a while, Dave.
He was stuck on 8 for a while.
Yep.
Which matched his career high from last year in 70 games. This time he scores his 9th in 51 games. And it's an important goal for the Jets and for Morgan Barron, obviously, because it gets things rolling, gets the crowd into it. And I know that some folks are saying that the crowd was a bit anemic. It wasn't the best energy in the building. I thought it was fine, but again, I'm not in the crowd. I'm in the press box. So it's a little bit of a different sort of atmosphere for us.
Because it's Valentine's Day. There's a lot of people, that could
canoodling.
I'm sure there's, some married folks and there's some families there, but
yeah,
imagine there might've been a few nervous dudes on dates, right? So, I was
possibly
there. A lot of people watching the show, Dave, they think that I've always been, I've always had it this together and I've always been this sexy, but
sure,
it took me a while. Like, I wasn't always like this. I had to work at this. Okay. You don't inherit a body like this. You build it, right?
You build it. It's like Build-A-Bear.
Yeah. So, there could have been some, 21, 22-year-old dudes that were a little bit nervous, taking their woman out.
Okay.
Right. So maybe that's why I was a little bit quiet. I'm just saying Valentine's Day. And we know that the guy that was about to propose to his girlfriend was definitely, probably a little bit nervous. Right. And let's be honest, it's the San Jose Sharks on a Wednesday night.
Charlie Horse wants to know what is this, lover's lunch? Well, that's why I wear this color, Charlie. So just to keep things, to keep that love in the air. But look, the one thing is, it's funny because the Jets did on this goal is they did something that every guy had a touch on this. They kept the puck in the San Jose zone 2 or 3 times where the Sharks could have gotten that puck out. And Appleton got a touch on it, and Lowry touched. Every single guy, every single forward touched that puck before.
Dave, let's wish Nick Ehlers a happy birthday. We got the comment up there from Lise Kubanowski. It is Nikolai Ehlers' birthday.
There you go.
And what a day to have your birthday. I've always thought Valentine's Day would be a great day to have your birthday because everybody's already in a good mood, giving out chocolate, flowers, right? And then you've also got your birthday. So even if you're single, Dave, it's still your birthday on Valentine's Day, right?
And it's the anniversary of Larry's first date with his girlfriend, at the time, now his wife, was at a Jets game. So happy first date anniversary to Larry. And,
okay, though, Dave, we got to know, though, Larry, who is a regular IC Nation member, we need
Mhm.
to know, was it Jets 2.0 or Jets 1.0?
Good
We
question
need
by
to know the
you.
year. Larry, when was that first date? Obviously, it was a successful first date because it turned
Yeah.
into a marriage.
Yeah.
But we need to know, what's the year?
There you go. Well,
Sure,
anyways,
chime in here.
well, as soon as Larry chimes in, I'll feature that one. But ultimately, the point is that the Jets did some good work, and the San Jose Sharks did not, because they had 2 or 3 opportunities to clear it. And like I said, Appleton gets the puck over to Sandberg. Sandberg puts it over to Pionk. Pionk kicks the shot, and Adam Lowry, you got to give him credit. And it was a nice tip by the captain, who tips it up and off of Morgan Barron. And Morgan Barron, it wasn't a highlight reel. I guess, Ezzy, hold on one second. Let me cue this up. It's not going to be the greatest one of the all time, but we don't really have any other options. So here's your Seagram's shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
It's good that you got that bumper in, Dave, because if we missed that, then we weren't going back.
We were nowhere going
We were
back.
probably going to have to go with like the Mark Scheifele save of the game or something. But
Ball
yeah,
line.
I mean,
Fireball, Ezzy. Tastes like heaven, burns like hell, as you well know. So our thanks to our friends at Seagram's. It wasn't much of a shot. We'll give Neil Pionk credit, Ezzy, because that was a good shot, good placement, and Adam Lowry for his masterful tip. But Morgan Barron didn't really get a shot of the game there. But we'll give it to Neil Pionk on the shot, and it was an important assist. I'll say quickly, Ezzy, before you give some analysis, because some fun facts. Mike McIntyre of the Free Press was calling me Cliff Clavin because I was dropping this knowledge, but that assist moved him into a tie with Jacob Trouba on the for 9th on the all-time Jets 2.0 assist list, and now he is just 5 back of Matty Perreault. So there you go, a little fun fact for you if folks are wondering. So Neil Pionk moves into 9th place on the all-time list.
One American defenseman passing another American defenseman. It's fitting, right, Dave?
There you go.
Yeah, on this goal, I mean, look, it's Fabian Zetterlund, number 20. We talked about him, former New Jersey Devil. I think Zetterlund's an underrated player. I think he's still relatively young, 24, 25 years old, but he coughs up the puck. Lowry keeps it in. And I thought it was kind of funny, right? It was the old line, right? Because it used to be, of course, Lowry, Appleton, and Barron last year for the majority of the season. Obviously, Niederreiter is the regular on that line, but that third line or second line, 2A, 2B, whatever we're calling it these days, Dave. I thought that was the Jets' best line, and I think the advanced stats back it up. But I love that Barron. We know that he's a workhorse. He's got speed, and it's the classic double tip, the Lowry tip, and then the Barron tip. Mm-hmm. And Rick Bowness was asked about the goal. In a game in which you had, what did we say, 24 high danger chances at even strength.
Yeah.
I think 24 overall, because I don't think there were any high danger chances on the power play, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely not.
It was a goal. It was kind of like a workman-like goal. And, the Jets were getting a lot more of those goals earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. But, it goes back to what I said before. I know I'm kind of getting away from the goal itself. Give Morgan Barron credit. You mentioned, Dave, 9 goals. Hopefully he gets to around 15, because he was on pace for 20 at one point, right?
Yeah.
And so when people start talking about, Jake Gensel's a name out there. Did he get injured tonight? I saw a comment in the chat. Somebody said that Gensel's injured, but you see other names thrown out there. I threw out an Anthony Duclair. Whatever winger you're throwing out there, Dave, I just, I think it would be a shame if a guy like Morgan Barron was pushed out of the lineup. Because if you think about it, if you've got a guy that let's say that he ends up with 15 goals, but he's got 9 goals now, that's a good fourth line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Alex Iafallo, Nemesnikov, Barron, that's a solid fourth line, right? Like Rasmus Kupari, he can't get into the lineup right now, right? And, a lot can change in the next month or so leading up to the trade deadline, or I guess there's less than a month to go now. But, good on Barron, right? Like, just goes to the net. Third line did some good work there. And we talked about it. Nino Niederreiter had the nice toe drag chance that Capo Kakinen saved in the second period. He got the rebound, and then he had another chance when Nate Schmidt dished the puck to him. So a lot of chances, but again, only 1 goal. and again, a few people, or Stu Smith was giving me a hard time in the chat there, saying that I'm turning into a negative Nelly. No, I'm not a negative Nelly. I think the Jets have enough pieces to go on a playoff run. But going back to what I said before, the power play has concerned me for months now.
Yeah.
Not just weeks. And Granlund had the 2 penalties, and the Jets did nothing. And against a depleted Sharks team, you got to score at least a goal on a couple power play opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really my only concern. You've got the best goaltender in the world. You've got 4 deep scoring lines. You've got a good group of defensemen. Chevy will probably supplement that before March 9th, which I think is the day that Notorious B.I.G. died, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a big
Apparently,
Biggie
Connor
guy.
Hellebuck, by the way, I'm reading the chat right now. Apparently, Connor Hellebuck was none too pleased about getting a shutout and not being named a star. Sorry, Connor Hellebuck. My Dave M's picking the stars.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Hellebuck didn't get a star?
Did not. Come on. He made like 7 saves. I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm not giving a guy a star because he got a shutout. Sorry.
Well, we're going to have Chuck Hellebuck on the show Saturday, so maybe we're going to have
I'm going to have to answer
we're going to have to talk to him about that. But Dave, I mean, sorry, we've been watching hockey for our whole lives. If a guy gets a shutout, he automatically has to get at least one of the stars, even if he only gets like 10 saves. Hellebuck had 20 saves.
Nope. Can't do it.
Wow.
Sorry. I thought first of all, Kakinen was the first star because he was best. He made it, the game was 5-0 easy if he doesn't play the way he plays. I thought Scheifele was excellent in the game, and I thought Samberg
17
was
saves.
Yeah.
For Hellebuck.
Yeah. Well,
he didn't do enough to get a star. Wow.
Spency's look, I got Spency with me, so I'm going on that one. He said he was making sandcastles. You don't get a star for that. Thank you. I got the chat going on my side here. Let's go, chat.
Festival is starting soon, and I think I'm going to be going with Spency. He shouldn't be saying Helly was making sandcastles. He should be saying Helly was making ice sculptures.
regardless. Oh, he could have gone 3rd star, I guess. But okay. Well,
we'll give him. How about this? We'll give him 4th star.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I at the end of the day, although it is funny because there was one year where we picked we don't pick them all the time, but we do sometimes. And I remember one year that we picked a lot of the stars. And I remember thinking, hey, we should probably get something for this because whoever wins this is going to be like, I think we did like 60. It felt like we did like 60% of them that season. So anywho, this is what we're now down to because the game was only a 1-0 game. We're now talking about stars.
Who else got the stars? Scheifele and Barron?
Nope, Samberg.
And Barron.
No, not Barron.
Hold on a second. The Jets win 1-0.
Yeah.
Morgan Barron scores the goal. Connor Hellebuck gets the shutout. And neither of those 2 guys are a star.
That's right.
What the hell is going on here, Dave M?
Hey, you know what? If you would have been at the house a little earlier, I would have consulted with you and you would have had your input, but you didn't go. So this was from the beautiful mind of Dave M. And if folks don't like it, well, that you're entitled to disagree. But ultimately,
that Hellebuck didn't make any, let's say, 5 bell saves.
He made like
we talked about Zetterlund had a couple good chances in the second. One was a blocker save.
Yeah.
We talked about Sturm
in
the 3rd period. He had the kind of partial breakaway save.
Yeah.
I guess the best chance was Anthony Duclair, but I guess that save goes to Scheifele, right?
Yes.
So I guess that he didn't do enough to get a star.
Didn't do enough. Oh well, what can you do? This is and by the way, the folks have to understand one other thing. We make these selections with about 10 minutes to go in the 3rd period. So I mean, it's that's why the Jets can make changes to them. Obviously,
John Chan wants to know why Samberg got a star, Dave. Now everybody is forget the power play, Dave. Now there's a big 3-star controversy.
Oh, that's fine. Oh well, again, like I said, if that's the number one thing we have to talk about on today's show, then that's pretty it's pretty fun. But
you have to answer to Chuck Hellebuck. When he finds out that you didn't give his son a star and he got a shutout, I don't think he's going to be happy.
Well, he might not ever come back on the show, but I don't want to piss off an international influencer, but maybe I'll take Saturday's show off. Who knows? Who cares? It's the 3 stars.
Well, the best part is I was sitting beside you here and you were asking me who the stars should be. And
yeah,
I said Nino Niederreiter because I thought Niederreiter had a great game. And that line, I mean, Lowry, I think
People are complaining about Sandberg, but Sandberg got a jacket from the Jets. So the Jets obviously liked what Dylan Sandberg did. Just saying, folks. Just saying. But again, like I said, if the only thing we have to complain about right now are my 3-star selections, then it's probably been a pretty good night for the Jets.
Well, Pustain has spoken.
Thank you. If Pustain is on my
Pustain
side.
Pustain likes the Sandberg pick.
Yeah, well, and so obviously, like I said, Phyllis is now okay with it. I think Phyllis was a little upset until she realized I was the one who made the picks, and she changed it out. So
Phyllis wants more likes. So if you haven't smashed that like button, folks, smash that like button because Phyllis wants at least 500 likes.
Yeah, which is impressive because there's only about 350 on the chat. But hey, we'll take 500 likes if we can do it. This has been the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, or Illegal Curve postgame show. Sorry, I'm Dave Manuk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. Usually we have a lot of goals to talk about. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Not usually. Usually we haven't usually had a lot of goals to talk about. So there's been a lot of shenanigans, a lot of discussions.
Randall is asking if Big Stan is going to play on Vancouver. Brendan Dillon will be eligible to return.
Yeah.
So my answer to that would be most likely no.
Yeah. I think that, well, I mean, the only thing that I guess could potentially affect that is we don't know what happened with Nate Schmidt. I know he came back after getting that puck to the head. We're not quite at the third period yet, though,
he's
folks.
Fine.
So we'll get there. Well, I know he's fine. He came back, but you never know. So KWB is hitting the like button just because it's fun to see me squirming. I'm not squirming, KWB. I wouldn't have revealed it if I wasn't prepared to take your slings and arrows. And Dave M's got thick skin, so I can handle criticism. Well, not really well, but not of the show. Personal criticism, totally fine. But not.
Can we just talk for like a minute though, Dave, about Logan Stanley before we go to break, and then come back?
I got a goal there is a goal to report. 11-12 into the third period. Dominic Toninato.
There you go.
Scores to tie the game in Calgary for the Moose. 1-1, a goal by Dominic Toninato.
They need a win.
Moose do need a win.
The Jets needed to win, and they got a win. I want to talk about Logan Stanley, though, for a second, because
sure.
I did think he was good. There was a play that he made. I don't know how many people will remember this play because it wasn't exactly like a highlight reel play. But it was, I believe it was Jacob McDonald. It was Jacob McDonald, who's a right winger, I believe, on the third line with Nico Sturm and Mike Hoffman. It was kind of a one-on-one situation.
Okay.
And Stanley, I just thought, made a good play. And he just stood McDonald up and he took the puck away, and it didn't turn into like a transition up the ice into a scoring chance. I just thought he was really solid tonight. I just thought he was making those types of good reads and good kind of stand-up plays near the Jets' blue line. So, again, Logan Stanley, I don't think is a guy that for me factors in to the Jets long-term. Like I've said this before, and this is nothing against Logan Stanley personally, because I do think he has, let's say, the ability or the potential to play in the NHL. What is he, 25 years old now, 26 years old?
Mm-hmm.
I just think the Jets are too deep on defense, right? Like I think you've got Ville Heinola, who has passed him on the depth chart. And now that Brendan Dillon's coming back, obviously Stanley becomes that kind of, quintessential 7 D-man, right, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he was just, overall solid. Like I thought he was, getting a little bit more confident in the offensive zone as well. I was just going to pull up his stats here. Logan Stanley played 15 minutes and 23 seconds. He had 4 shots on net.
Yep.
Right. So I just wanted to say like, again, I going back to what I said on Saturday morning show, like I didn't like that, the Jets lost Declan Chisholm on waivers. Yeah. And obviously that's part of doing business.
Who, by the way, Minnesota is still not playing, which is I know they're winning, but it's very weird.
Yeah, that is true. If you're going to claim a guy off waivers, and especially, with, injuries to the back end, namely Jared Spurgeon, right? I'm not sure why they're not playing him, but I just wanted to say that. I thought Stanley was solid tonight. And I think that, he would be better served playing on going to a different team, and then maybe he'll, a team like Chicago or, maybe a team like Columbus or Anaheim, a team that's out of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. I think there is a possibility that he's moved at the trade deadline, but considering that the Jets don't seem to want to recall Ville Heinola, it looks like Stanley might be the 7th defenseman here for the short term at least.
Well, Matthew, I'm just going to answer Matthew Thompson's question, then we'll go to break. Well, should we go to break, or do you want to talk anything else? I mean, there wasn't really much. We could talk about the celebrity lookalike. That was not a bad one. The guy with the mullet. You guys don't see that, though, if you're not at the game. We got the proposal. Mark Scheifele save. We should probably talk about that. That was a pretty spectacular save. We kind of already did, though, so I don't think we'll do that right now. But
we could talk about what we got our significant others.
Sure, whatever. We got to do what we got to do.
Flowers for Naomi, and I make a point of telling her how much money I spent. By the way, have you heard that in the flower business, they raised the prices on Valentine's Day? Someone told me that today.
You're well, hold on. Beep, beep, beep. Are you actually acting? That's a man who's not bought flowers for a woman before very often.
I buy flowers for Naomi every single year.
How do you not know that, Ezzy? That's like literally.
What do I price check the flowers on February 13th? I don't know.
Not about price checking, but you kind of have a general idea. You walk into a florist in Valentine's Day, and it's the price of the same stupid flowers.
But my question
from 3 days ago.
Are flowers the same price? Are they more expensive on Valentine's Day than Mother's Day?
Well, I don't know. Actually, I'm not.
Do we have anybody in the floral business? That's also Naomi loves tulips, but apparently tulips are out of season. Anyways, I spent $56 on, and I told Naomi this. So this is no secret here. I've actually spent more. I think the most I've ever spent on flowers is like $80. And Naomi says the same thing every time. She says that, like, why did I spend so much money? Well, obviously, because that's how much I love you.
There you go. Wait, you love me or you love Naomi?
Well, I love you too, Dave. And I love the chat and I love Lamp. But the reality is, I mean, you can't really put Safeway puts out a nice flower. You can get a nice little bundle for about $20 at Safeway.
Okay.
But I like to go to, I went to Academy Florist, so shout out to them. They're not a sponsor. Maybe they'll sponsor us in the future. I know Dave loves carnations. Just kidding. But yeah, let's head to break.
Yeah, I was going to say at this point, I've actually started clipping the Dominic Toninato goal because I've lost focus on whatever it is the hell we were talking about. But hey, that was the Betway game recap brought to you by our friends at Betway. Although I'm not sure they want to be associated with us after that heck of a recap there is. But let's give them a shout out anyways because we appreciate their support here on the Illegal Curve post game show. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. And Ezzy, please play responsibly.
Well, and please see the comment from Granny Bomber fan.
What did Granny?
It's a money grab.
Well, I mean, nobody's disagreeing with that assessment. Of course. Absolutely.
How much do they hike up the flower prices? Like, what are we talking about here? Like $2 a flower?
This is a hell of a question, and it's a question for our eventual flower sponsor because we're obviously going to need one. But for now, we have to thank our current sponsors. So we're going to head to commercial break. This is the Illegal Curve post game show. Stay tuned because we're going to have even more fun stuff when we come back from this commercial word.
Boston Pizza harnessed Analytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life?
Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking, where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code IllegalCurve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more,
I love sweets.
Our listeners can use the code IllegalCurve to park for free.
Holy Zamboni.
Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code IllegalCurve, all one word, to park for free.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job, presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back. I was trying to get in a tweet there as before we came back, but I didn't get it done. I'll do it right after I welcome everyone back. This is the Illegal Curve postgame show following a Jets 1-0 win over the San Jose Sharks. The series with San Jose is officially done, so you won't have to watch any more of those barn burners as no more against the San Jose Sharks.
They've all been 1-goal games. Like,
I know.
Who would have thought that 3 games between the Jets and Sharks would all be 1-goal?
7 goals total.
What a time to be alive, Dave.
I know. What a time. But you know what? Let's be realistic, as the focus of today's show has either been the price of flowers on Valentine's Day, my 3-star selection. That seems to be what's getting everyone focused on today's show, which is okay. We're okay with that. Folks can have opinions. We want to hear it, even if you differ from us. Speaking of having opinions and they potentially differing from what Ezzy thinks or what I think, please share those opinions with our show, about our show on iTunes or Spotify or any other, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate
Napster.
comments. What's that?
Are we on Napster?
We are no longer on Napster. No.
Okay. LimeWire.
LimeWire, yes.
Yeah.
Napster, no. But if you can share those comments, give us a rating. We appreciate that. Of course, comment on YouTube. I try and respond to everyone as best I can. And like Roscoe says, Jets need to do more of what I do on a typical date. Score. Well done, Roscoe. The humanity of that. But anywho. So yes, Ezzy, do you want to do a tough duck? Do you have a tough duck yet? Or should we just keep jibber jabbering and we can get to a tough duck in a few minutes?
No, I've got my comment.
Okay, well, let's cue up the tough duck hardest hitting comment of the game.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
We're going to give it to our very good friend, Jason Eastwood. I'm not sure if he's related to former Jet 1.0 Mike Eastwood.
Or Clint.
That's true. Like this comment, not enough crisp passes, way too much passes, no killer instinct around the net, not enough greasy play. Otherwise, the Jets look great. Hopefully that win was a stepping stone. That's the thing here. The Jets have put together a couple wins after that 5-game losing streak. So at the end of the day, we were talking about it before, even though, you're not scoring a lot of goals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you should have scored 5 or 6 goals against the Sharks tonight, probably.
Yeah.
And you got the 2 points. But I am a little bit worried about the game between the Jets and the Canucks because of how the power play has been struggling, and also because it still wasn't, to me, a dominant enough performance in terms of the outcome. But I like that comment from you, Jason. I thought that, the Jets, look, I think you could argue that the Jets have lacked a bit of a killer instinct, going back to, I don't know, early to mid-January. So this is not, again, I think the Jets are most likely going to finish 2nd or 3rd in the division. Maybe they'll finish even 1st.
Okay.
I have Dallas as the best team in the division. This is just my own opinion, Dave. I don't speak for you. I don't speak for Drew. I certainly don't speak for the chat. I think that the Jets have the pieces to go on a playoff run, mainly because they have the best goaltender on earth. And I think Sean Monahan addresses their second line center needs. I do, want to see a few more additions from Chevy, but I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but there's still just not quite like, if you want to compare them to the 2017 team, I still think that team, they had, you had Buff on the back end. I mean, he was able to score goals when he needed to, but he could also lay a big hit. Jacob Trouba on the back end, like the defense to me, exactly. And you had Paul Stastny at second line center, who's better than Sean Monahan.
Joe Morrow.
Sure, Joe Morrow, Toby Enstrom.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on and on. But anyways, Jason, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs on X/Twitter @ICSEG. And Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. But I just, I guess, again, I'm not being cynical because I am a glass half full guy, Dave.
True.
But I just still
unless
think
that glass has beer in it, then you drink it and it's empty.
Exactly. Then it's completely empty. But it's mainly those things, right? Like it's the power play is a big one for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just not seeing the same type of layered attack that we were seeing, in the first 40 to 45 games, as opposed to, the last 10 to 12 games. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they got to start it off right, and they've got 3 games in 4 days coming up, starting on Saturday against one of the best teams in the league. So we'll see what they can do. I obviously think that the Jets can beat the Canucks. I'm just saying that wasn't a resounding victory tonight by any stretch.
No, and look, again, did the Jets control play? Yes. The Jets were 5-on-5? Were they better the team? Yes. Again, do you still have concerns about their power play? Absolutely. The PK was good. So they didn't allow a shot again, not that San Jose has a vaunted power play. So that's obviously not a significant concern. But at the same time, like I said, it's one of those games where you liked a lot of what they were able to do, a lot of the control they exerted throughout the course of that hockey game. But again, there are some areas that you still concede, reason for concern.
Well, and Patrick Guaz has got the comment, or Guaz, sorry if I'm getting that pronounced wrong, like speed and forecheck, right? Like it's apparent to anybody that it's not quite there. And that's with Kyle Connor back in the lineup and an entirely healthy lineup. Like that's not to be underestimated here, right? Like you can't say that, you're missing, this guy in the top 6 or that guy in the top 6. The Jets have everybody, and they have Sean Monahan now. They didn't have Sean Monahan, 3 or 4 weeks ago, right?
Right.
So it's for me, Dave, the power play and also stylistically the way the Jets are playing. Yes, they're still playing well defensively. Like they're only allowing 1 or 2 goals a game, but it's still, the offense just, it's not as crisp as it once was. It's just not as dynamic as it once was. You're not seeing the Jets, have, 2, 3, 4 shifts in a row. And again, maybe this is still, the doldrums of the post All-Star break portion of the season. Maybe, we'll see what happens Saturday, but Saturday's a big game because, you're not going to beat the Canucks by scoring 1 goal, most likely.
No, you're absolutely right. And you do wonder if the Jets, look, they're not going to admit it. They're not going to, they tried to, when you heard Cole Perfetti speaking today, he didn't disregard the San Jose Sharks. He didn't say, like we did, that this is the team that has the lowest goals for, the most goals against. The San Jose Sharks coming into today's game had as many wins as the Jets have on the road. Jets now have 18 at home. I think they have 14 on the road, and that's how many wins the San Jose Sharks has. So the Sharks aren't a good team, and the Jets aren't going to say that they were looking past them. But at the same time, like I said, I think that the goaltender, you credit Kakkonen because I thought he was excellent in the hockey game. Obviously, I thought he was excellent. Gave him first star, so I clearly thought he was excellent. But the fact is, you're absolutely right, Ezzy. This cannot be like, you want to see that effort, but some of the execution needs to be better. And look, the Canucks are going to force the Jets. They're not going to have last change, so they're going to have to play a complete game, and that's what we're going to have to see from them on Saturday. Of course, that's for our Saturday morning program, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, that gets started at 9 a.m. As who are our guests on Saturday? Give a little sneak peek, a little preview.
We talked about it earlier. We're going to have Chuck Hellebuck, international influencer himself, of course, dad of Jets star goaltender Connor Hellebuck.
Right.
And then we're going to take a trip to the buffet with Kenny Weeb.
Kenny Weeb is bringing us that trip to the buffet. And then so that's from 9 o'clock to 11. I'm just going to give you folks your Saturday after your whole Saturday planned out. Then at 2 o'clock, you'll be not necessarily joining me at Canada Life, but the Moose are back home after playing 9 in a row. The Moose, by the way, who just went overtime, courtesy of the Dominic Toninato unassisted breakaway goal. Nice creation by number 45 for the Moose. He scores. That was his third of the season. So that sent it to OT. Well, didn't send it to OT, but made it go to OT eventually. And so the Moose are playing at 2 o'clock. I believe is the Chaz Lucius bobblehead game. So I think the first 3,000 fans will get a Chaz Lucius bobblehead. Quite exciting. I've got an extensive Moose bobblehead collection. I'm not going to bring it out but I do have an extensive Moose bobblehead collection.
Can you grab me one? I'd love one.
Sure.
Love a Lucius bobblehead.
I might have an extra. Lucius one. I don't have that yet, of course, but we'll see. That's coming on Saturday. And then, so that's from 2 till about 5:30. Then I'll maybe have a little time for a little supper because of course we're not going to get little za, whatever. But the point is then whatever you got to do. And then the Jets take on the Canucks. That's a 2-game road trip starting in Vancouver and then ending in Calgary. Yeah. Is it Calgary on Monday?
Yeah. That's Louis Riel Day.
Louis Riel Day. Oh, that's right.
The founding father of our province.
Which is going to be a 3 o'clock start, that one's going to be a little tough for me because I've also got a Moose game on Monday. So at 2 o'clock. So I may be doing that post-game show from Canada Life. We'll have to see how that's going to work as you may be joining me at Canada Life to do the post-game, or you can do it here without me. And then that's getting way ahead of ourselves. That's already Monday. We got to focus on the here and now. So let's, I think we should probably wrap it up. We've gone an hour and almost 15 minutes on a 1-0 game. Pretty impressive, actually. Not bad. It's been a good Valentine's Day.
It wasn't a bad game. Like, at the end of the day, there are some 1-0 games that are boring. That wasn't boring. It certainly wasn't boring when they were reviewing that Anthony Duclair Scheifele, where Scheifele, was it his knee? It looked like it his knee pad.
Yeah, it hit his, I think his left knee or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, that definitely was exciting. And, the Jets had a lot of scoring chances and Kakinen kept them in there. So, it was an entertaining 1-0 game. You'd like to have more goals, just like the Jets would have liked to have more goals against the Penguins. But, it's, still only a few games after the All-Star break. So let's get reset, get ready for Saturday night against the Canucks, because this could be a possible, obviously now I'm getting way ahead of ourselves. This could be a possible Western Conference final we're talking about here, Dave M.
There you go. But before we even get that far ahead of ourselves, let's give a big thank you to all of the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and that website is illegalcurve.com. Spency doesn't know it, but we do. A possibility. They are, in no particular order, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Grid Park. Use code illegalcurve to park for free. Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Farmery Beer, home of IC Beer. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Well, we appreciate everyone for spending their Valentine's Day night with us. I'm Dave Nuke. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. We are back on Saturday. Of course, we'll have all the latest. Jets are off tomorrow. The Moose are off tomorrow. Both teams will be traveling. One is going, actually, as they'll be passing each other in the night or during the day, because the Jets will be traveling west.
Did the Moose win, by the way? Is that game over?
No, it's 1-1. I was trying to, stay present I'm trying to stay focused here on this show, but it's currently 1-1 with 2:51 left in OT. But so maybe we can watch the last couple of minutes before once we leave. But Phyllis is cheering on the Moose. But the Moose are off tomorrow. The Jets are off tomorrow. Moose will be back at practice on Friday. So we'll have that covered with a Moose practice report. And again, like I said, illegalcurve.com, your home for all the latest Jets and Moose news. Okay, it's been a fun evening. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate it. Again, if you can, make sure you smash that like button before you head out for the night. And illegalcurve.com has all the post-game reaction on it already from tonight's game. The Jets defeat the Sharks 1-0 in Winnipeg to close out this short 2-game homestand. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.